Yo, what is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to the show. Hope everybody is good. Draft season, baby. It's 1 week away, minus a day. And happy Easter season to all y'all that celebrate. Spend time with the fam jam, and you guys will be good. I got my dude, Eric Sojash, in the house. We're going to be talking some draft player rankings today. We're gonna debate, man. This is going to be heavy debate on whose players are where, ranked where, who's going to be good. Eric, what's going on, buddy?
Yo, I can't wait, man. This is the best time of the year. You know, anytime this football season is the best time of the year. You know how we are. We're hyped for this. I couldn't be more excited than to do this with you. You know, I appreciate every time we get on this pod together. Thank you for the invitation. Let's get into it. I can't wait to debate these players and just kind of hear what you got to say. I love hearing your opinion on football. You're one of my favorite analysts out there. This is not regarding our friendship or anything like that. This is all the analysts I've ever seen. Chaus is one of the best I've ever seen do it. He's one of the best to do it. If you haven't heard him, please dive into his stuff. Go back into time. You'll hear what he's had to say in the past. You'll see this guy knows what he's talking about. I feel like I'm one of those guys that can compete with him. So let's do this and let's have a good time.
Man, much love, much respect for Eric as always, man. We chop up football all the time, so you know this is nothing but what we do, and the NFL draft is just so amazing. I love scouting, love it all. I could sit there and scout up all these players all day long. You guys know this. Before we get into the draft talk, we do got some rumor on potential draft trades. Want to jump in this before we go into the rookie rankings. We're going to do quarterbacks top 5, running backs top 10, wide receivers top 10, tight ends top 5. So stay tuned. Do not go nowhere. But a couple names rumored. I'm thinking this is a lot of smoke, but we got to talk about this, man. Jordan Addison, my dude, Addy, Chris Olave, CO2, another one of my guys, Breece Hall, Dallas Goedert, few names that could potentially be traded on draft night. And, I mean, a lot of it feels like smoke, but, I mean, out of these 4 guys, Addy, Olave, Hall, and Dallas Goedert, what do you think, man? Who's getting moved on draft day?
Out of all those names, I think there's only one that's a real actual trade potential piece that they want to move. Now, will he be moved? You know, we'll have to see if that happens. But I think it's Dallas Goedert for 2 reasons: where his contract is at, where he's at age-wise, and the team that is obviously in the trade market. We know how the Eagles are. We know I got the hat on. That's my team. But aside from being a fan, if you watch football for the last few years, you know the Eagles are very much in the trade market, especially during draft season. They are one of the most active teams out there. And Dallas Goedert, just based on his contract, his age situation, the market at tight end, we're going to talk about that a little later. It just feels like he's the one that I think will actually get moved, and they are looking to move. Some of the other guys, you know, we've talked about this kind of off time. Like Addison, I see it as a guy that would move for a good piece, but I don't see as Minnesota wanting to do so unless you blow them out the water. And I don't know what team's going to blow them out the water right now. So I'm with the Goddard guy. I think he's the one that's more likely to move. We'll just see if there's somebody out there that's making an offer for that guy.
Yeah, and I mean, Breece Hall is interesting. I get from the contractual standpoint, they don't want to pay the man. And I get it. You know, nobody look at what James Cook's going through in Buffalo. He wants 15. Bills are like, yeah, we're not really in the market for 15. And you know, Breece Hall is going to get anywhere upwards of 15 plus if he does sign somewhere. So, I mean, the NFL is definitely morphing and changing back into being a running back league to set up the pass once again. So you do require a good, talented running back, which this class has an abundance of. So, again, it adds a little bit of a wrinkle to suggest this is why they want to trade a Breece Hall potentially. I mean, whoever threw out the rumor, I think it's warranted to understand to say new coaching staff, new regime with New York. They could draft a Genty if he does fall there, or an Omarion Hampton if he is there. And I'm telling y'all, would someone else entertain trading for a Breece Hall and paying him? Because I would. I don't think that's off the table.
I don't think it's off the table. I think he still has left a little bit to be desired in terms of taking his opportunity and completely seizing it. We have seen flashes, where Breece Hall has looked like he could be the top 2, 3 back in the league, but we have seen the fall off as well. So with him, I think there is a lot of meat on the bone to be seen. So I'm not sure how much another team is willing to offer for that. You know, I do see the upside, but will you pay a premium for upside alone? I don't know. Especially like you said, we're gonna dive into this class, and there's a lot of running backs that are around that ranking or maybe just below it.
No, 110%. So without further ado, let's get into the rookie rankings. We will debate which side is better. Mine. I mean, it is always the case. Just kidding. I understand why Eric is going to put it out there how he does. He studies tape just like I do. So let's talk these quarterbacks on the rankings. I'll dive through the list right now. We'll talk Eric's list, then my list. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, number 2. Jackson Dart, number 3. Kyle McCord, number 4. And Quinn Ewers, number 5 for Eric. For me, I got Shedeur as my number 1. Cam is number 2. Jackson Dart is number 3. Jalen Milroe, 4. And then Dylan Gabriel is my number 5. I'm taking a little bit of a shot on Dylan Gabriel. I like the kid. I think there is some talent. But let's talk Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders, number 1. Why you got Cam over Shedeur, man?
It's an interesting one. We did have a debate about this off camera before. I did say, I don't know if you're searching for clickbait. I don't know if you're the new Mel Kiper's, but I'm just playing. I know this is a real evaluation of yours. You've been following this for a long time. For a few years, we've been following Shedeur. We're football fans. We grew up football fans. We've been following Deion Sanders since we could, rock those Cowboys jackets and the starter pullovers. So nobody can tell us nothing when it comes to, what we understand with that regime of football and that era of football. So I understand that when you say Shedeur is number 1, this is no fanboy talk. I'm just clowning with you.
Yep.
But I got Cam as number 1. Just based on his trajectory, just based on his path. I understand he was a 0-star recruit. I know my boy Shady thinks that's crazy. We got Shady in the background. Shout out
Shady.
to my lady.
Shady.
But hey, Shady, you be going too hard on my boy for being a 0 recruit. That's a little too harsh. I understand that not everybody gets seen. We're not all gems off the rip. Some of us, we have to bloom later in life. If you study about Kentucky Fried Chicken, that man did not pop till he was in his 50s. So if you're out there and you're still trying to be a great later on in life, there's an opportunity for you. Cam Ward did not pop till later, and now he's the number 1 prospect. I think he's well warranted to be the number 1 prospect. I saw what he did his last year at Washington. I saw what he did his first year at Miami. I think the talent in the O-line was pretty good. Outside of that, I don't think he had elite talent around him. I think he made the players around him better. I give him a lot of credit for that. He ran that offense fantastically, but I know it's a small sample size, and that's where people are, hesitant. I know he's a bit of a gunslinger. He took some chances. He made some throws that will make you pause. But the overall talent, I do see it there. I think he would have been a top 4 quarterback in last year's draft, and that's not no like slight. I know people are like, "Whoa, he wouldn't even have been top 2." Yo, last year's quarterbacks, or some of them are generational. Like I know Caleb didn't look fantastic his first year, but in college he was generational. Let's not forget that. Let's not have revisionist history. He was generational. Jaden Daniels was a quarterback that ran like Lamar Jackson. That's crazy. Drake May is a prospect that looks like Josh Allen. That's crazy. So him being the 4th quarterback last year is not a slight on his talent, in my opinion. And if you put Shedeur even at 4th, that's not a slight on their talent. That's just realizing how good the talent was last year, and that's just being honest with where they are placed in that order. That still, to me, says he's a fantastic player. He can change the trajectory of Tennessee. I'm a Cam Ward guy. I don't want to go too deep into it, but where we're going to start is, I believe in the talent. I believed in what he did in Miami, and I think the upside is huge.
It's a good sales pitch for Cam, no question. I mean, I'm not a Cam hater, and the class I'll specify. You guys have watched my scouting reports, and it's a lesser class overall when you're talking about evaluating from college football. Is it historically bad? I don't think so. I think the Sam Howell class ended up being the historically bad class. But when you're talking Shedeur versus Cam, for me, I mean, it starts and stops always with footwork. And when footwork is in a play, that's when you get the double checks for me. And it's like, okay, this guy, these are some things that are coachable majority of the time in the pros. You get in a good system. They understand, quarterback gurus. They manipulate your mechanics, and they alter you to be the quarterback. Cam is a good quarterback. I'm not going to sit here and say he's a bad quarterback. But if you're talking somebody like Will Levis, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, you would have had the debate where you would have said Cam, Shedeur, and Will Levis probably in that rank over those guys from last year. But I mean, again, you're talking about guys where a lot of people, a lot of scouts are saying Shadir isn't that guy. There isn't the it factor. But I think a lot of this goes into play to say he's trying to pull an Eli Manning with his dad Prime, saying he wants to go to a situation that he wants to play in. So instead of doing a draft day trade, you're gonna sit here and just kind of downgrade yourself and say, yeah, he's not that good. Get a couple scouts to say this, and then he drops down the board to the team that actually wants him, and then he lands in somebody like New York or Vegas or wherever the hell he's gonna go. But footwork is very good. And when you're talking Shadir's con versus pro, his passes deep to me are there. I mean, I'm not going to go as far to say as it's polished, but I think it's better than Cam's as we sit today coming out of college. Footwork better than Cam's as of today as we enter the NFL draft. Cam Ward, for me, he's the creative guy. He's the guy that's going to extend the plays. You're not going to get that from Shadir Sanders. He's almost going to be your pocket guy. And I mean, what concerns me about Shadir is the short passes, anywhere 5 to 15 yards. I mean, you see the wobble on the football. It's almost like he's timid in that pass. And a lot of people saying that Travis Hunter made a Shadir. I'm not going to go that far. I think Shadir is definitely quality. He can be a good quarterback. And we've seen the comps. I mean, I've seen Teddy Bridgewater. I've seen Geno Smith. Seattle Geno Smith, not New York Jets Geno Smith, but you know what I'm saying. I think the ceiling isn't as high to be like an elite franchise passer for any of these guys. But I mean, Cam and Shadir, they definitely can play, and I think that they will at least challenge a good 4 or 5 year career of being a potential franchise passer.
Yeah, I hear that argument. One thing I want to definitely make clear on camera is that I do not believe the gap between Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders is as big as the media has made it out. For the majority of people that are on the Cam Ward side and that think that Shadur should slide to late first round, maybe second round. There's even people that think Jackson Dart or some other quarterbacks might be above Shadur. I think that's ludicrous
Mm.
based on the tape, based on his his evaluation over his duration of his college career. I don't think the gap is very big at all, but I am putting Cam slightly above him. I just think the intangibles are there. And I think the things that Cam lacks, like you're saying in footwork, which I agree upon, I think he can learn that. I do believe that, like he said, he wasn't a five-star recruit. He didn't have the polished beginning. Shador had the polished beginning, right? His father is one of the greatest athletes of all time. So one of the things that I believe Shador couldn't miss, if he didn't have those things,
Mm.
I don't think he'd have a hope in hell
Mm.
because he literally had one of the greatest athletes of all time in his house since day one. So the things that he has, I believe he was supposed to have in a sense. Not to take any credit away from him. It's hard to still do those things, but those were like entrenched in him from birth. Whereas I think those are the things Cam missed. His dad, I don't know what he did. I'm going to throw something out there. Maybe he's a mailman. Maybe he's a laborer, not to disrespect any of those type of careers, but just to say, like, he wasn't a football player from birth, right? He didn't understand the intrinsic needs for footwork and things like that. So I think those things he actually has an advantage future on where he can learn it. It can be taught to him. He didn't have it at the beginning. And I believe in his work ethic. I believe in what he's shown in his trajectory from a 0 star to being projected as the first overall pick. I don't think that's something you should scoff at the way my boy Shady is. I think that's actually really hard to do.
Mm.
It's kind of like getting it out the mud, as they say. He actually went from nothing to something. I think there's a lot to be said for that. So I want to give him credit, and I think he definitely deserves to be the first pick.
I get it, man. No worries. We go to Jackson Dart next on our board. We're both tied 3-3 on this one on the rank. And I think we're both pretty similar on what Jackson Dart is. I mean, I like his release when it is mechanically on point. When he does it, steps in to throw, hip torque is good. I like his release a lot. I think there is a lot of zip on that ball, but when he does struggle with his mechanics, you do see it taper off a little bit, and he's a tough SOB. These are the biggest marks I got. This guy will stand in the face of pressure, take it, try to throw a dime down the field. I like Jackson Dart, and I think that he could be a decent quarterback. I just wouldn't sell the farm on him, and I do believe, based on potential need of quarterback teams like the Steelers, I wouldn't be shocked if he's a first rounder.
I'm a Jackson Dart fan. Now that's kind of biased. He's got my son's name,
Mm.
same spelling, which is rare. And I just like his swag. I'm a guy that goes off energy and vibe sometimes, and I do like the way he carries himself. And not just off that, I like the production. He's got 3 years of steady production, steady elevation. You see him get better and better each year in his in the offense there. Now I do understand the Lane Kiffin offense. It's very simplified. He does not go through many reads. It is first read is usually, is schemed open and he just needs to dot that up and he's done that pretty well. Um, I do think one thing that I find interesting based on my tape, now maybe I'm not the greatest guy out there in terms of scouting, but I think that they're underselling his athleticism. I don't know why I think his
Mm.
athleticism is not bad, but I do hear a lot of scouts saying that he's not very athletic or he doesn't run very well and all those things. And I don't see that really when he actually makes his mind up and chooses to run. I think he had a 65-yard run in 2023. I don't think unathletic quarterbacks make 65-yard runs. So I do think he's underselling his athleticism, kind of a la CJ Stroud. Remember,
Mm.
they didn't think he could run. They didn't think that was a part of his game. They were trying
Yep.
any way to knock him down. Then they put on the Alabama tape and they're like, oh, this man can run. Now you see what he can do in the NFL.
Yep.
He actually can escape pressure. He actually can deal with a bad O-line, make it look better than it is, and keep that alive. I think Jackson Dart has a little bit of that in him. I'm not giving him that type of comp, but I'm just saying I think his athleticism is definitely underappreciated. I think he actually can play the quarterback position athletically at a high level in the NFL.
Do you know who it reminded me of? Is Baker Mayfield. The same type of rushing style as a Baker Mayfield.
And Baker Mayfield is really hard to get down,
Yeah.
sneaky hard to get down, can turn, 3rd and 5 into a first down,
Yep.
and he breaks the defense's backs all the time with that. And I like that. But he's actually bigger.
Yeah, he's
You know what I
stout.
mean? So he might be able to withstand a little more hits than Baker.
Agreed. His frame is stout enough, and he's got enough to get outside and actually take it down the field. I agree with you. I don't. When people say that he's not an athletic running quarterback, I mean he's not Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels, but he's good
Oh,
enough. He's got Baker Mayfield wheels. Here's where we get a little bit different. 4 and 5. You got McCord. I got Jalen Milroe, and then number 5 Quinn Ewers versus a Dylan Gabriel. Let's do this quickly.
yes,
McCord.
sir.
McCord. What do you see in McCord? Why are you in here with number 4?
Kyle McCord. Why am I on Kyle McCord? 2 years of production that I do enjoy. 2 years of steady production incline. I did like his final year here.
Mm.
I do like that he's coming out as a junior. I like that. I'm just kind of a little bit biased if they're not running the full senior route. I think it does show a little bit more pop in their tape, a little bit more pop in what they've done. And then in terms of just his talent around him, I don't think he was surrounded by the most talent in Syracuse. I do like the tight end there. We can talk about that later. The running back is not someone I'm super high on. Their wide receivers now, I haven't done a ton of deep dives on them. Maybe they might be big in the future, but from what I've seen, none of them are some guys that are eye popping. So I do give a lot of credit to the quarterback there, and then what he's been able to do with the system. I do like it. I don't think it's elite talent. I don't think this is day one talent. Don't get me wrong here. This is not someone should pay up a premium price for. But if he does fall to you, I do think he's a day two guy that you can develop. And there's some traits I do like in his game. And like I said, I'm a guy that just likes someone that takes a program that's not necessarily loaded with talent,
Mm.
and he's still able to excel. I think he led the nation in passing yards this season, if I'm not wrong. So these type of traits without super talent around you, it can't go unnoticed for me. So I got to give Kyle McCord his props. I'm putting him at number 4.
I get it. I mean, the 5 pick game was, I think, one of those things for me where I was like, that's got to drop you a little
Hey,
bit
Peyton
down.
Manning's had a 5 pick
I
game. Sorry to cut you
understand.
off.
I'm not putting the guy down. It happens. I get it. And it's no different than Jalen Milroe. So I got him at number 4 because for me, Milroe, I was excited when he first played with Saban, and then, everything. He had a little bit of a regression this past year, but I mean, the rushing upside is absolutely phenomenal. We understand the NFL's changed, more rushing upside quarterbacks, and that's a good thing for Milroe. I mean, you're talking same type of category, and if I'm gonna have to rank today, where I've seen a lot of these conversations say, he's a Justin Fields 2.0 type of quarterback, where he's got rushing upside for days, but he can't necessarily throw. Don't disrespect my dude, Justin Fields, that much, please. He can throw the damn football better than y'all will want to believe. They don't even let him throw. Let him throw the football. Y'all going to see what's going to happen. But Jalen Milroe, to me, and I've even seen the Jalen Hurts comps to Milroe, not happening. Pump the brakes. Milroe is very erratic. So if I'm going to put it into a perspective of an Anthony Richardson type of quarterback, A-Rich, unbelievable size, prototypical rushing upside, cannon of an arm. Okay, the arm isn't just like an A-Rich, but Milroe does have a big arm. His rushing upside, absolutely stupendously phenomenal. 110%. You can work with a quarterback like this. we have seen the arm talent on display, but the accuracy issues, the progression issues, the ability to read the defenses properly, this is a concern. So he is a raw quarterback, just like Anthony Richardson was. That's kind of where I'm saying the comp is, not in necessarily play style. It's just how raw of a quarterback they are with unbelievable athletic rushing upside. And there is potential, but we've seen what Anthony Richardson cannot do on the field so far because the tutelage just is not there yet for him. He's either got to get better coaching, change up some ways that he throws the football, and stop getting injured because you're such a big man. You're taking so much contact. This is not a good thing. Every time you get injured, miss time on the field, you're missing valuable reps. And I mean, Milroe, to me, there is upside. I do understand why people are talking him up in this draft. Could he potentially be a first-round pick? I don't see it. I think that's crazy talk. I think you can wait on Milroe, but I get why people would go after him because of that rushing upside.
Yeah, Milroe's my number 6. So just for a sneaky little
There you go.
tidbit there,
There you go.
I do have him, just outside the top 5. I think there's real reason why he can be considered a first round pick because the comp to Anthony Richardson to me is actually a very real comp, but Milroe's better, in my opinion,
Yeah.
coming out as a prospect. He actually has played against better competition. He has a more sustained college career. He showed more at that level than Anthony Richardson did. It's just Anthony came out right time, right place, right time, where like Lamar had just popped and like the running quarterback and that athleticism and Zach Wilson had just done that combine and he wasn't totally a bust, but kind of a bust. You know what I mean? So all these things were just kind of like at the right time where it's like, take a shot on that. Where now we've seen it and we're like, oh, are we sure we want to take a shot on that?
Yeah, right?
But if you ask me, he's actually a better prospect coming out at this stage than Anthony Richardson is. And Anthony went 4th, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that, yeah.
And we're wondering if Jalen should even be a first round or second round pick. So I do understand why there's some GMs and some, prospects out there, or sorry, scouts out there that are like, yo, this guy could be something, like something crazy. Now, the Jalen Hurts comp and all that right now, I think is a bit of a reach, like we had discussed before. Like what Jalen had done at Oklahoma with, nearly 4,000 yards and 35 passing touchdowns and showcasing CeeDee Lamb. He showed an aptitude to pass the ball as much as people didn't want to give him that credit. It was at least showcased at some point in college, and then he's translated that a few times into the NFL, where we still are waiting for that from Milroe. Where he really tried to get going with the passing, he still resulted in, I think it was 16 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. That's not a very good ratio whatsoever. If you're going to have that type of passing yardage and that type of completions, those interceptions need to be around 4 or 5 at max, right? So we got to figure that part out for him. I think he's definitely a project you should take a shot on. I'm just not sure where. That's where we probably defer. But he's definitely a project that I think has massive upside.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think there is good upside for him as well. But Quinn Ewers and Dylan Gabriel, I mean, if we're going number 5, I think I'll start with my, I don't want to say love for Gabriel, but I mean, I like the kid. I think he's good. I really do. And I think it reminds me of maybe a more athletic Tua Tagovailoa. It's very much in that prospect, and it's not because they're both lefties. I mean, he's undersized, I get that, but he succeeded every single place he played. OU, he went to Oregon, followed a Bo Nix, and it was to his, benefit. Absolutely stellar stats. 18,000 freaking yards, 155 TDs for Gabriel. I mean, you just don't luck into stuff like this. He is a mobile quarterback. He's got a good frame as well, good stout frame. And I mean, he flashed. I mean, what was 72.9% on the completions this past year, but we know how favorable the Oregon Ducks offense is to quarterbacks. And I mean, but he can make a lot of plays. And I think he's going far too far under the radar. And there is a lot of disrespect on his game. But could he be a perennial backup for his entire career? Absolutely. But I think that there is decent upside for a Gabriel because he does have that athletic ability. He's got some good accuracy, good touch. He just doesn't have a cannon of an arm. He could be a good quarterback. I don't ever think he's going to be a great quarterback, but he's my number 5.
I hear you on that. Gabriel is my number 7. I teetered and tottered with him. I watched his tape a few times over and over again. I do see the comp to Tua, not necessarily just because of the leftiness, even though that's a little bit of it, the accuracy, the way he throws with anticipation, the undersizedness. I also do see some Bryce Young in him. I don't want to go too high with it because I do think Bryce is much better prospect than he is coming out. But I do see a lot of Bryce Young in him as well with the undersizedness, the way he handles himself with the size that he has. He can throw from certain angles, the way he can use his vision and stuff instead of having to see over these massive linemen. So I am a Gabriel fan. The production is consistent too, so I do like that he's been a very consistent quarterback at Oregon. So, I'm with you why I don't totally disagree with why you put him there. But let me ask you a question. Like, who is the number one prospect coming out next year?
If it is, it's going to be Arch Manning,
Arch Manning. What school does Arch Manning play for?
Texas.
Okay. Now, how I see this is that
Mm.
there's a guy that kept Arch Manning off the field who's going to be the number one
Look
prospect
at
next
you
year.
building narratives. Look at this guy.
There's a guy that kept a guy off the field that everyone has a consensus as the number
Mm.
one quarterback next year. Usually, when you have that consensus ranking and that last name, it's hard to keep you off the field. So there's got to be something. I'm not overly sold on Quinn Ewers, but I can't ignore that you kept the guy that everybody in the nation is knowing is probably the number one. Some people are going to tank for Arch Manning,
Sure.
and you still played more than him. I can't ignore that. Then I looked at his production in the year prior. I can't ignore it. Now, his arm talent isn't amazing. His arm is kind of, it's kind of weak in my opinion. I don't want to disrespect the man. He's a phenomenal college quarterback. But what I see from him is kind of the Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins comp as a ceiling, somewhere in that range. He throws with anticipation. He did still make production with two receivers, sorry, at a Matthew Golden, who's a receiver I think is fantastic, and Isaiah Bond, who people have various opinions on him, but he was able to make production out of them. And then the year prior, he had the tight end Jatavius Sanders. He had our boy that you love, Xavier Worthy,
Mm.
and he was able to get good production out of those guys. So there's something to Quinn. There's a reason I gotta have him in my top five. And like I said, I'm high on Arch Manning, and this man kept Arch Manning off the field enough, so I got to put him somewhere.
And I understand the argument. For me, Quinn, he's interesting, and I'm gonna say he's very intriguing. Even when he was with Ohio State, he had to transfer out, and then I get it. With Sarkisian, I think he's a creature of habit as well. You got to earn your stripes before you can jump on the field. And when
Facts.
when Quinn went down with that injury and Arch stepped up into the games, we saw what the future does hold for Texas and the Longhorns with Arch. We get it. The problem that I have with Quinn is the erratic nature that he does play with. He's got a mechanical issue with his arm, something AKA Phillip Rivers. And again, we can cuss Phillip Rivers all we want. The guy's a potential Hall of Fame in the talk. I don't ever think he'll get into the Hall of Fame. But stat-wise, I mean, you're talking a guy who's probably still, top 25 yardage TDs, like in a Phillip Rivers. Quinn's kind of like that for me, where he's a little erratic. He'll make some really poor decisions, and then he'll make some really good ones. And you're like, okay, I understand what you're doing here. I see it. And it's one of those situations for me where if I saw a little bit more consistency, then I would have Quinn in my top five. Where we did start this back in January, I probably did have him in my top five at that point as well. I'm not a Quinn hater. Always wanted him to succeed, but there's just something about his game that I really need to see ironed out before I can be like, yeah, he's really in the top five for me. But again, in this class, I mean, you're number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, you're kind of splitting hairs a little bit. So,
Yeah.
right?
Hey,
Yeah.
he's a junior too. I
Well,
just want
there
to
you
put
go.
that out there.
That's right.
I got a little. I don't know if I'm the only one out there, but I give a little credit to this. I do.
I get it. I'm with you. And he's likely going to have something to say in the NFL, but it's going to be an interesting landing spot for him where he could learn and then
Very
maybe
important.
take over, right? So I think that's a
Yeah.
good one. So diving back into running backs, because this is the generational class that we have been discussing. Everybody knows. And the thing is that the biggest problem that I have, okay, we're going to talk. I'll break it down first. Eric's picks, man. Ashton Jeanty, top 5, and we'll go to the top 10. Ashton Jeanty 1, Hampton 2, Trevion number 3, Judkins 4, and then Dylan Sampson 5. For me, it's Hampton, Jeanty, Henderson, Caleb Johnson, and then Judkins at number 5. So we do got some differences. And it's good. I mean, it's good to see where we're at. Obviously, the Hampton versus Jeanty thing, we'll do this one. Why Jeanty over Hampton for you?
I got Genty as number one just based on the footage that he put on for the last 2 years, some of the break tackles, some of the one-on-one elusiveness, some of the open field speed that he keeps after being hit by several, linebackers, safeties, it's exceptional. Now, I know it's not always against the top talent, but I do believe there's still something to be said about a man that can take that type of contact and keep that speed and that balance and, take that to the house and not get caught from behind. He showed that multiple times on tape to the point where I was just like, I hadn't seen this in a long time. Now, I'm not quite as high as some of these other people that are calling him generational, that are calling him Saquon Barkley,
Bijan.
Ladainian Tomlinson, those type of comps. I'm not there, but I am to the point that I think this is a generational class, and he's just a cusp above the rest of the class. So I do think he is a special talent, and I do think in the right offense, this man will absolutely kill it at the next level. He's special. I think he literally possesses all the talents. I've heard things about his hands. I think the hands thing is definitely overranked. In 2023, they did throw him the ball a lot more. I didn't see a lot of problems with his hands. I think this year was just they're chasing Barry Sanders' record. I heard I think it was who was it? Was it Mel or was it I can't remember who it was, but somebody had mentioned that Todd McShay. It was
Mm,
McShay that said it. He said that he believes strongly that they were, so focused on the record because that was the only way he can get the Heisman,
mm.
that they didn't waste any genty touches on passes. They're like, why pass on the ball? Like if he gets 30 catches this year, it doesn't help him break the Barry Sanders record. He needs handoffs to break the record, so let's focus on that because that's the only path to the Heisman Trophy this year. And I don't know if that's a fact or anything like that, but if you look at the footage based on 2023 to 2024, there is a drop off in even the attempts to throw him the ball, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. So there is something there. I think there's a little bit where there's smoke, there's fire. But in terms of talent, I think he has the full package. He's just slightly undersized, and but I don't think that's something to knock him out of that top spot.
Fair enough. And I got Hampton because of the size. The size and the ability for me. You know what it is? It's more longevity concerns. I know Ashton Genty is going to be a stud in the league. Do I believe that he is in the Bijan category, the Saquon? No, he's not in that category. So LT, no, thank you. I mean, put some soap in your mouth and wash it out. Genty's going to be a fine running back, no question. But between the three of them, Hampton, Genty, and Trevion, they all graded out extremely well for me. They're all in the 80 percentile for me, which all means that they're exceptional talents, and they will showcase this in the NFL. When it comes to saying you're splitting hairs and everyone's saying, well, it's disrespectful to put Genty under any of these, I don't think it's disrespectful whatsoever because Hampton is a very much quality running back, size, speed, his hands for me. The only problem with Hampton is that he gets caught from behind quite a bit. So, the home run wheels and ability for me, that's the biggest concern where you would say you give that edge to an Ashton Genty more than you do at Omarion Hampton, and I'm fine with that. But for me, you're talking about both characters. They can handle volume. I would give the touch up to a Hampton when it comes to his receiving ability. Like I said, Arian Foster to me, it's like a clone without maybe the home run ability. But I think people saying, oh, his hands aren't as good. Man, you go watch some of the catches this man made. He's gonna make a difference on anybody's offense.
I love Hampton. You know that. I've loved Hampton since I was on the Drake May train
Mm,
a couple years back. That's kind of when I first saw Hampton on the scene. Thought he was a fantastic, fantastic prospect. I'm just a big fan. I love the size, the speed combination. Like you said, he doesn't always house call it. He does have a few times where he gets caught from behind. Have to live with that with a man his size that can run at that size and speed. One thing with Hampton, why I did knock him just below Genty, is just I feel like there's something to his ability to shake and
mm,
completely take house calls there. He doesn't completely have the shake there. He doesn't have like the breakaway speed where I think Genty does. And then in terms of Hampton, I do see him as more of the consistent workhorse back. He's my favorite running back in the class. I think he's the one that if you had to bet on, I think he's the one that is the safest
mm.
bet in the entire class. I think he's the safest prospect to make the transition from college to the NFL and have at least, B production, if not B minus production. I think that if you had to make that type of bet, I'm Hampton. But if you're like, let me get a guy who's going to give me A plus production rookie season, I just got to go with Genty in the right situation with a slight edge over
I
Hampton.
get it. And I mean, a lot of people understand that as well. For me, like I said, the height, I mean, 5'8", yes, he is put together. You saw it his pro day. He's all muscular and built. But I mean, we see guys that run violently. I mean, I was on a Vegas radio show talking about the violent nature of running backs, and eventually that volume will catch up with these guys. And we see it like guys like
Absolutely.
Jonathan Taylor, 900 plus carries coming out of college, Genty 750, and eventually that workload, if you're going to continue to hammer him into the ground, he's going to be, initiating contact as much as he does. Longevity definitely concerns me for a Genty over a Hampton in that sense, because I think the body can definitely endure it more for a Hampton. But for Trevion Henderson, y'all know this is my dude. Love me some Trey. And you know what? You call me crazy all you want. This guy, okay, is he ever going to be a 250, 300 touch running or attempt running back? Probably not, okay? But he fits in that same category of the Jahmyr Gibbs, of this James Cook, where they are that change of pace, home run ability, and they look at everyone cussed down. This is my biggest argument when we're talking about a Trevion Henderson. Everybody cussed down the Detroit Lions when they took Gibby where they took him, and look what he's doing. Everyone, oh, he's the number one dynasty back. This is a fantasy show, so we'll say that. I mean, he's the number one dynasty back. I mean, over Bijan and blah, blah, blah. He's so electric. He's so good, and it doesn't matter how much volume you give him. We saw when Monty went down, Gibby was able to handle those touches. Trevion is going to be able to do this. I think when he did get injured, it was because he tried to put on more weight, and he just couldn't play at that weight. They brought in a Judkins to do the tandem approach, which did ultimately win them a national championship, get them the natty. That doesn't mean that's a slight on what Trevion can do, and I think a lot of people have that recency bias saying, they needed Judkins to spell out or for Judkins, they needed Trevion Henderson to spell out Judkins rather than the flip, but it was more of a 50-50 tandem backfield where these two definitely complemented each other, and that's not a knock on Henderson because, look, are you going to say the same thing about a Jahmyr Gibbs where he's got Monty to, back him with 50-50 touches? He's going to be a very successful running back. Trevion is my favorite back in this class, and I think he's going to have an unbelievable career. And sidebar, quickly, he runs like a little bit of Saquon. I'm not saying he's Saquon, but you put on that tape, it's like you're looking at it, you're like, damn, that's like a junior Saquon running out there.
Oh, okay. I thought we were pumping the brakes on these type of comments.
I'm not confident. I'm just saying it's reminiscent.
I don't know if he's there. I just like the Genty thing. I'm
I
pumping
get
the
it.
brakes. I'm
I
pumping
get
the
it.
brakes. But I love Travion. Loved him for a few years now. The injury is the only concern I have with Travion. Just like you, I don't know if he is a three down back. Now he could be in the terms of like like a LaShawn McCoy type body type, and that size and build, but he doesn't necessarily run like that in terms of the scat. He kind of seeks more contact than you'd think for his body size. And in the in the pass blocking game, he wants to light people up. So he's looking to hit people there. So he actually plays bigger than he is. One thing I do love about Travion though is that electricity he has, man. If he sees a crease, if he has any type of opportunity to take this to the house, he's going to hit that crease and he's gone. And I love that about him. It's the same thing as we saw in Jahmyr Gibbs, which made Jahmyr so special. I don't think he has total Jahmyr Gibbs package in terms of running between the tackles as a consistent runner in that body frame and to hold up like that. So I wouldn't quite put him at that ranking, but I do see a lot of the explosiveness that Gibbs has. I think he's a guy that any team that is looking to actually add a weapon. You want another weapon. You want to get somebody that's going to give you 12 to 15 touches a game. And out of those 12 to 15, five of them might be house calls, depending if the defense takes the wrong angle or something. That's something you should pay a luxury for, in my opinion. Those are weapons in the NFL right now. There's not a lot of guys like that. And I think he's one of them. So while I don't necessarily see him as a top running back in this class, I do see him as one of the best weapons in this draft class.
Yeah, man, it's not far off. I mean, hands are exceptional. Speed is exceptional. And like you said, the pass pro for me is the best of this running back class. This guy will pick up the blitzer. So if you're putting him on any downs, you want him to pick him up. He's doing that, no question. But you got Q Judkins at number 4. I got him at number 5. I'm a fan. I think that he is Ohio State's my team. I love me some the Ohio State Buckeyes, baby. And I mean, Judkins, I will preface it this way, that I did like his, I don't want to say that fully, but I did like aspects of his game at Ole Miss more than I did at Ohio State, but he was such a damn bruiser at Ohio State. That stiff arm for me is probably the best in the class. You come with him with an arm tackle, he's putting you into the ground, Derrick Henry style. Love me some Q Judkins.
Q special. His stiff arm to me was his and I don't know if you paid attention to this guy's tape, but Hannafin Jr., the tight
Mm,
end.
mm.
I think those two had the best stiff arms in the class for any position. The way they could just knock players off of them consistently was ridiculous. Now, Q obviously did it at a higher level of competition. He reminds me of Joe Mixon. I feel like I'm watching Joe Mixon with a little more pizzazz, a little bit more strength to him, but very similar. A lot of pop in their run, a lot of seeking contact, a lot of like no mess, no means. Like I'm not messing around. If you want to, you want to meet me mano a mano, let's go. That's kind of how those guys like to play, and then they win those battles 99% of the time. So Q, he's definitely a fun running back. I had to put him in my top five. I like the transfer to Ohio State to
Mm.
show that he could, carry this team and help this team get to another level. Spelling Travion, bring a different element to that offense, really helping them elevate the quarterback's play as well. I think he was a big part of that, as well as the quarterbacks being more sustained this year and actually having a more sustainable year, and then going the full way because they could rely on a running back that can get short yardage, that can catch the ball too. Don't sleep on his pass game. I think his pass game is very, very good. He's very good in the passing game for not a typical scat back. You always picture a James White, a Danny Woodhead. He's nothing like that in terms of body frame, but he's a very good passing running back. So that's why I kind of boosted him up my ranks. I got him at number 4. I think Quinshawn's going to be fantastic in the NFL. He just needs the right landing spot.
Yeah, I love him too. I think he's going to be very much quality, just like Caleb Johnson. I got him at number 4. You got him at number 6. Caleb, for me, okay, the thing is, there's a lot of these one-cut running backs. Even when you're talking about Genty, Hampton, Henderson, Caleb, even Judkins, they're all like this one-cut. They got a nice hop cut to their game, but they're not the juke and shake running backs that we've, grown accustomed to in the NFL. Caleb, to me, I mean, you're talking 230 plus pounds, could still add more beef to that frame. And this guy just floats out there. And you know me when I brought up, Ramondre Stevenson back in the day, big men with light feet that can catch, sign me up all day long, because these guys are a problem in the NFL. Caleb is a problem. He didn't test great 4.57 on the 40. I don't care. Go watch the film, and you go watch this guy break a tackle when he's going to the edge to the outside, and he's off to the races. He's kind of that long strider, but he's so bloody fluid. It's like he's just flowing out there, and it's like a gazelle. I absolutely love Caleb. I think he's not getting near enough praise out of this entire class, and I think he's going to be absolutely phenomenal in the NFL.
I'm with you on that. I'm a big Caleb fan. He was in my top 5 for the longest time. This is one of the things, I don't know if everybody else does, but I watch tape. I make my notes, I make my rankings, and then I rewatch tape.
Mm.
And then I make more notes, and then I remake my rankings, and then I watch more tape.
Yep.
And unfortunately, because I did that a few times, Caleb went from like 4-5 down to 6. We could talk about that a little bit after, just because of it's not because of him, it's just because of what Dylan Sampson showed me on tape
Sure.
that I just had to move him up. But Caleb is special to me. Like you had talked about Arian Foster earlier. That's how I saw Caleb. I saw a bigger Arian Foster, the smooth running, the zone scheme, the way he could hit the crease. It was very Arian-like to me. It was very smooth. It looked like he slowed time down and then ran at his speed,
Yep.
and nobody else could just keep up. You know what I mean? Kind of like one of those. I don't know if it's one of the Avengers or one of those X-Men characters that could just slow time down and he does things at his own speed. That was very much Caleb to me. And then whenever he broke out of that pack, nobody caught him. He got caught a couple times, but in terms of for his size and speed, he really could just accelerate. He looked like a locomotion, just getting faster and faster and faster. I think his game speed is much better than his tape and what he had done at the combine. I'm a big Caleb guy. Like you said, I had him at 6, and it's not because he did anything to fall out of my 5. It's more so because Dylan did something to jump in.
Fair enough, man. And Dylan Sampson is your number 5. I don't even have him in my top 10, so that's going to be one of those situations. It's cool, man. I get it. There's a lot. You know what? When he started out of this, back in January, everyone was talking up a Sampson. They're saying, so good, this, that, the other. And I mean, okay, I get it. I like his game. I think there is definite upside. But as I watch some of these other guys, I mean, we'll run through. I'll let you talk about Sampson, but we'll go 6. to 10 because I didn't bring that up, man. So my 6 is DJ Giddens, Brashard Smith,
Okay.
Jordan James at number 8, Ollie Gordon number 9, and then Jaden Blue at number 10. You got Samson at 5, Caleb Johnson 6, RJ Harvey 7, DJ Giddens 8, Taj Brooks at 9, and then Cam Scatabo at number 10 with honorable mention of a Brashard Smith at number 11. But, I mean, break down why you see Dylan Sampson at number 5. I mean, I like the kid. I think there is potential. You know what it was? It was like the hype for a Jalen Wright. I know they're very different players. Wright was extremely fast, played for the same team, same system. I get it. But it's one of those situations where the production definitely was there, but is he a standalone running back for me in the pros? That's kind of where I got question marks on a Sampson.
Yeah, I think he is. What I saw was a man that was waiting for his opportunity. He played his role until he got his opportunity. Now they had guys that tested better. You know, we saw what Jalen Wright tested. We saw what he ran, and then he got drafted by Miami, and we saw what he is so far. It wasn't necessarily a big takeoff in his rookie season, but he had a little pop here and there. But not to harp on Wright, I think he was just opportunity and where he had fallen in the ranks. He's not a guy that eye pops in the test of size and speed and all those combine tests, but he's a guy that just understands running back position to me. Now my comp is going to blow everybody out the water, especially because you're like he's
Let's,
not even in your top 10.
let's hear
But
it.
I saw a lot of Frank Gore in this man.
Okay, yeah.
I saw a lot of Frank Gore in this dude in his size, compact, the way he finished runs, the way he was playing at Tennessee that last year. I enjoyed his tape a lot, and he just shot up my ranks. I was a really big fan of what he did. He carried that offense, in my opinion. He was the number one player on that offense, and he produced week in and week out. And yeah, I just like what I see. I think he's got the full package, man. I'm a big fan of Dylan Sampson. I think it's going to translate huge. I don't think he's going to be a day one or even a day two guy. He's going to probably fall a little bit in the draft in terms of how he tests and stuff like that. It's not eye popping, but I do believe that whoever lands Dylan Sampson's going to have themselves, just like I said, a Frank Gore type player who's going to be here for a long time.
Yeah, he definitely could be in day 2. I'd say like third round, day 2 product. Absolutely. And I think,
No,
the way that this running back class is, even being picked in round 5, it shouldn't be looked at as like, oh, this guy's not going to do much. This class is so deep, man. You could get a running back
facts.
in round 7, and he could be a producer this year. I like Sampson's game, too. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't like it. I just love all these other guys, including
A
a
little
guy
bit more.
like DJ Giddens, baby. This guy to me, man, you talk about the prototypical, one speed back that's got the juke shake, the missed tackle abilities, got some hands, goal line upside is there. If this guy, I mean, we spoke about it personally, I believe via text about Giddens, and you were saying if this man had, 4.4, 4.3 wheels, we'd be talking about him potentially in the top 5, and that's not even far of a stretch. Giddens is one of these dudes, not much chatter on the man whatsoever. I find him to be, there's some like Ricky Waters in there. I love how he runs the football. He's always falling forward. I'm a huge Giddens fan, and I mean, I'll be shocked if he goes to day 3. I think he is a day 2 product.
I'm with you on Giddens. He was in my top 10 for sure. I think I had him around 7, I believe.
You got him to 8, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big DJ Giddens fan. I do love his game. I love his receiving and running ability, and like we said, his ability to shake in the open field. He's got this Gumby type flexibility to him, the way he could just move, and he's got ridiculous vision. Not necessarily from the backfield. I haven't necessarily seen it to be exceptional from the backfield. I think it's kind of average, but in the open field, his ability to see tackles coming and where the blocks are at, or where the second tackle is coming from, I just think it's actually very elite. I think that's something that you can't really coach. It's kind of like this innate feeling, like spidey senses, if I had to give it a type of title. And I think he has that, and I just love watching him play. I think those type of things translate to the next level no matter what the level of competition is. It's more of a sense of feel that he has, a natural feel for the position and just where people are coming from and how to evade them. I think he'll just be able to do that at the next level, just like you saw it in college. And like we said, if he just had a little bit more juice, just a little bit more juice, because he does get caught a lot. We were saying Hampton gets caught. This man gets caught even more. So if he had a little bit more
Yeah.
juice, he would be in that top 5 for me. But yeah, that's my only knock on him. But outside of that, fantastic player.
Yeah, I love him. 6 for me, 8 for you. You got RJ Harvey at number 7. Talk about this one because a lot of people talking up a Harvey. I'm lukewarm on the man. I When we're talking RJ Harvey and like Taj Brooks, I see very similar, Zach Moss type of situations where they're good running backs. And I mean, maybe it took Zach Moss a little bit of time. I think he's better than Zach Moss, both Harvey and Brooks. But it's one of those things where, again, you're talking the heavy set running backs, big body frames, they can run. I mean, I kind of see both those individuals kind of in the same category, but then I'll be hypocritical because I got Ollie Gordon at number 9. But talk up your guys, RJ Harvey and Taj Brooks, man. What are you seeing in these guys?
Exactly what you're saying. I think these are just stout running backs. I think that they're just kind of a next level, a next tier down from the guys that I was talking about earlier that just have that contact balance, like, the guys at the top of the class, like, the Boise State King right now that everybody's loving. But outside of Genty and stuff, I think these guys have a similar skill set
Mm.
where they're these shorter backs, stout backs, very good contact balance, not elite necessarily at one trait, but kind of a jack of all trades is how I see them. That's why they're a little bit further down my list. But if you can bounce off tackles, if you have that, I'm a fan of that size, that way, that ability to get compact. I know we don't have a ton of it in the NFL, but the guys that can excel at that rate, they excel to another level, in my opinion. We got the Austin Ecklers that we've seen recently to give you a comp, but just guys that have that compact frame, I just find them very, very hard to tackle, very useful in the right offense. And I just see these two as some of those type of players that were able to produce on a consistent basis for their colleges.
And definitely volume pigs. They're going to get a lot of volume. So I understand why you would rank them there because you're looking for a running back to take a lot of heat off your quarterback or to be the change of pace on volume. They definitely fit the bill in that sense if you're looking for one of those running backs. But I got Brashard Smith at number 7. I am shocked you dropped him out of your top 10. The fact that you're talking him up, talking all the juke, shake. I get it. The undersized nature. I mean, I can't be hypocritical again to myself. He's under 200 pounds. I mean, 5'10", but this guy, man, with the wheels, the speed, the freaking hands, the juke shake ability. I mean, he's not necessarily going to be your goal line running back. But again, you're talking about playmakers. You're talking about game changers. You're talking about guys that can alter the point of the game when you ask and call upon them. Brashard Smith, to me, is one of those dudes.
Rashard, he's one of my favorite players in this draft. I said he was a poor man Shady, and you
Mm.
know how I feel about Shady. Let's plug that one more time. He's in the
Shady.
background. But
Shady.
I gotta be honest. I had to drop him down because I realized I was really fandoming out on his tape more than just being how I view tapes and how I rank players and actually going through my rankings and through my system. Once I went back, like I said, I watch tape, get my rankings, then I review it and go back and over again. Once I did that, I just had to knock him down on the consensus basis that I think he really needs to find the right system.
Mm.
He's not a player that I think can fit in 32 systems, 32 teams, and just be, one of the guys that's going to produce for you. I think it's the right role and the right scheme and fit where Brashard can be your running back. Whereas the guys that I ranked ahead of him, I think they're a little bit more friendly to more of the offenses, more of the 32 systems out there.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I mean, he could be that third down back role more than being, a 180 type of carry type of guy. But I mean, the juke and shake is definitely special in this, man. I got Jordan James at number 8, Oregon product. And it's funny enough, the more and more I watch this guy. So he wasn't even on my radar to be in my top 10. And I was like, yeah, why is everyone talking? I said, okay, let me go dive in. Dove into 1, dove into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All of a sudden, I'm like, holy crap, man, this guy's got some game. And you start to really appreciate what he can do. You're talking Bucky Irving, and they played at the same school. There's a lot of similarities in these two gentlemen. And I mean, Bucky obviously showed the fact that he was special in the pros. A lot of people weren't talking up. Do I believe that Bucky's better than James? Absolutely. But there's a lot of similarities in the game where you can utilize this man exactly the same way that you utilize a Bucky Irving, and there's going to be a lot of benefit to a team. That's why I got him at number 8.
I don't have him in my top 10. I'm not going to try to pretend like I should have now that you've put him there. You're saying Bucky Irving, and you know what that does to my
I
ears.
hear
I
you.
was the Bucky Irving guy of the last year. I seriously, like, hand to God on camera, strike me dead with like lightning bolt. I don't think anybody had Bucky as high as I did. None of these analysts, none, but I was a humongous Bucky Irving fan. So the fact that you're comping him to Bucky is going to make me watch his tape again,
Yep.
and we might have to revisit this conversation. So other than that, I don't really have a whole lot to say on him right now. I can't really just say some negatives or any positives because I have to reserve that for future conversation. You know, I'm a big Bucky fan, so I'm gonna go watch that tape again.
No, fair enough. And you're going to see a lot of similarities. It's not identical, but there are a lot of similarities. Number 9, Ollie Gordon for me. He fell down like a freaking stone in the ocean. I don't understand why people are not talking about an Ollie Gordon. Why? Because he tested at 4.6 and he just falls through the floor. Ollie's a 1,700 yard running back. You're talking OK State. So if you're giving up somebody like an Ashton again, I'm not saying the same player. They got different skill sets. Ollie's a big back. You're talking 6'2", 225 pounds. He's an upright runner, but this guy's got skills, man. You see a 6'2" guy hurdling people, you caught my attention immediately. You get 1,700 yards, you caught my attention immediately. You got hands as a big man, you got my attention immediately. I love me some Ollie Gordon. I think he's being slept on to the nth degree. There's so many positives you like about his game. Yes, he did regress this past year when it came to yardage and his gameplay. Ollie's still, for me, one of these dudes. If you're looking for a pounder type of running back, I mean, nobody's Derrick Henry. I'm not even going to say Ollie's that, but he's a big guy with a lot of athletic ability who can catch. I mean, he's going to be automatic on the red zone as well. I love me some Ollie Gordon.
Yeah, Ollie was getting a lot of hype coming out this season before the season started, and for some reason it's kind of faded throughout the year. And then as the draft process has gone, a lot of the hype train has kind of quieted down. I'm not big on Ollie, but I do respect his tape. I do respect his game. I think he is right, just right there for me, just outside that bracket. I just think I like some of these guys' skill sets a tiny bit more. For me, Ollie, he was kind of like is between him and Cam Scatterboo for me. And if
Mm.
you look at my list, you see I got Cam that made the list. I like Cam's ability in the passing game just a little bit more. I like Cam's production and how he carried his entire offense a little bit more, and then his seeking of contact at his size, I thought was ridiculous. And I just think in the right team he could translate. But it's no knock on Ollie. It was just more just the guy that I liked a tiny bit more that kind of filled that role.
No, I completely understand. And Scatabo, I mean, to me, he's one of these dudes. He's like the Taysom Hill of running backs, is what I said. I think he's going to have a big role in somebody's team, but it's not going to be a consistent role. Just like Taysom. When you require certain things, it is what it is. Give it to Cam. I mean, the one thing about Cam that I do like, you give him the football, you need a first down, he's getting you first down. You need to get a touchdown, he's getting you a touchdown. Like, he's a beefy running back that's going to produce a lot of punishment. So I understand the like for a Scatabo, but I mean, for me, number 10 is Jaden Blue, my boy. The blueprint, love me some Jaden Blue. Yes, I understand the fumble problem is a big concern, but I mean, he had to wait his turn behind guys like Roshan Bijan and all those boys at Texas. He's very much, under 300 attempts, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Check me on that. But he's one of these dudes. You cannot teach his wheels, his ability to get outside, get to that edge, and make house calls. It's like the James Cook. When I was the first, when you're talking Bucky Irving, I was one of the first on James Cook and saying, y'all are disrespecting this man. He is going to be a dog in the NFL. I see very similar things out of a Jaden Blue, and he had a top 30 visit to my Bills. Do right by me, Brandon Bean. Because we got to get the blueprint. I mean, the name is just beautiful. The blueprint, get him in Buffalo.
Yo, the name is dope. He's got a dope name. The speed is incredible, but I don't quite see him the way you do. I see him more in the Jalen Wright type.
Mm.
So I see him as more of that later day 3 pick, 5th round, 4th round pick. Whereas Cook, I believe, was a 2nd round pick for
Mm.
you guys. And Cook, I think Cook, he showed a little bit more ability to run through tackles. Them fumbles are a real concern. I don't want to brush that under the rug like you tried to do there. Fumbles lose you games. Fumbles
They
lose
do.
offensive coordinators money. Okay, so they
Yeah.
lose their jobs. You can't just fumble the ball away multiple times and keep your job. It's not cool. But it is something that you can work on. So I'm not going to give it something that it's going to totally ruin his trajectory. But to double back, I want to say something about Cam. I know you said the Taysom Hill. I don't know if I agree with that. That might be a comp that other people hear and they, oh, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I see David Montgomery.
Mm.
That's what I see. And if you pair him with someone like we both love in a Travion Henderson, you get a Cam and a Travion. Now
Sure.
you got yourself exactly what I think Detroit has. So that's more of what I see in Cam. He's not that guy that can necessarily, explode and do all those other things like a Jameer, but I think he definitely is that thumper and he wears on a defense just like a David Montgomery. And that is very valuable in today's NFL.
No, and I get it. And it's not a knock to call him Taysom. I just think, he's a football player and he's gonna make
Yes.
plays. That's kind of where I was going with that one. But it's a good list of running backs. You guys know this situation, but we're gonna touch these wide receivers with a Travis Hunter. And I mean, with Travis, it's very interesting. We got them both at number one. We'll break down the five. Eric's Travis Hunter, Matthew Golden, T-Mac number 3, Agbuka number 4, Luther Burden 5. I got Hunter, T-Mac at 2, Luther at 3, Emeka at 4, and then Golden as my number 5. I understand Golden is rising up everybody's boards, due in part to that speed and that wheels. I completely understand. He should be a very good quality product. We don't even have to touch Travis. We know he's generational. He's going to be
Yes.
one of these guys. I mean, you team him up with Malik Neighbors in New York. That's something I would pay money to see as well. But let's talk Golden 2 to 5. Why the big jump for Golden for you?
So Matthew Golden, he kept climbing up my list. Like I said, I do these things. He started around 4 or 5 for me. Might even have been in 6. And then as I kept watching the tape and kept going over, and then like we talked earlier, Quinn Ewers, you saw where I ranked him, how I talked about him. I like him, but I don't love him. And I don't think he necessarily made these receivers. I think they helped him out a lot. So I do have to see. I saw a lot of stuff that was left, meat on the bone, where if he had a better quarterback with a stronger arm, someone that could put the ball out there a little bit more, I think Golden would have had definitely over 1,000 yards and probably a couple more touchdowns. I do think he's one of the better red zone wide receivers in the draft, and he's not necessarily the biggest, or he's not a T Mac type body frame, but he is a threat in the red zone. So I just looked at his whole tape. Then he ran crazy on the combine. People were talking, you're talking reckless on Twitter, like, oh, like, you could run 4.29. Why didn't we see that at Texas? And I like how he fired back. He's like, yeah, well, that wasn't my role. They didn't ask me to do that at Texas. And I like that little edge that he showed. And then I went back and I really watched the tape, and you know what? Maybe they were high on Isaiah Bond. Maybe Isaiah Bond was that 5-star recruit that they just felt like we have to give him the ball. And Matthew had to earn his touches, and he did. And by the time he earned it, the production was there, but it wasn't as big as it would have been had they known this earlier.
Mm.
So I factored all that into my assessment, and I said, you know what? I actually do think this is arguably the top wide receiver in this draft. T Mac, sorry, our boy Travis, we got to put him over because he's generational. But if you just focus on him being a corner, I would put Matthew at number 1. I'm very confident in that. I actually think he's going to translate extremely well to the NFL.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. He's got everything you like to see, and as the season did wear on, we saw Golden's role continue. I mean, he was fantastic in the college football playoff as well. Absolutely stellar improvements in his route tree as well. So you do like to see that, and the fact that he does have those wheels at 4.29 to pop off the defense. I mean, there's a lot to like about a Golden, but I got me some T-Mac at number 2. You got him at number 3. I love me some T-Mac. It's one of these situations I want to say, that tape comes out of him talking about the fact he doesn't watch film, he doesn't watch football, doesn't like football. I think this is another one of these situations where they're trying to get him to fall a little bit to the right team. I don't buy it for a
Mhm.
second. If you're a football player, how do you not watch film? How do you not watch, football in general? So don't tell me he's been doing, and he was putting up some damn good games. 200 plus yards, 3 TDs. T-Mac to me, prototypical size, 6'4", hands for days, catch radius. I mean, is he the true field burner? No, but I mean, he's got so much more than enough to get down the field everywhere you want him. He even had to go watch the game between him and Travis Hunter when they were against each other. You're going to understand exactly. That's masterclass stuff between both those gentlemen right there. T-Mac for me, number 2.
I love T Mac as well. I liked him more in 2023, or sorry,
Correct.
2024, and I feel like there was a bit of a regression this year. There was a lot of chatter about not necessarily him not being totally invested in football, but him just taking plays off and stuff like that. So I went back and tried to see where that chatter was coming from. I don't totally buy that narrative, but I did see some plays where you can see, some maybe like lollygagging out there, or whatever you'd like to call it, however you'd like to phrase it. But overall, the talent I think is undeniable. When I see him in an interview, I believe what he's saying. I don't think he's just talking for the sake of it. I do think he's a football guy. He may not be to the degree that others want him to be, but everybody's got to live their own life. And you know what? Maybe there's something. He went to Arizona, correct? There's
Right.
something out there, right? We saw Kyler Murray. He plays in Arizona. We know football doesn't mean necessarily the whole world to him. He was sometimes COD meant more to him than football. So maybe there's something in Arizona. The weather's nice, the women look good, the shopping is good. Life is good. You don't have to just die on the gridiron all the time. But when these boys get on the field,
Yeah, yeah.
in my opinion, they do produce. I just thought Matthew Golden had a slight uptick. That 4.29 I can't deny, and I think he's left a little bit to be desired. He hasn't reached his peak. Where T-Mac I think is, I won't say he's peaked, but I think he's a little closer than Golden is. That's the only reason for the flip.
I like that point a lot. I think the ceiling is higher for more peak on a Golden than it is T-Mac. I do like that point, and I do agree wholeheartedly. Luther Burden the third. We love this guy. I know you're a huge fan as well. You dropped him down to number 5. I understand with Emeka. I still put him up over Emeka because I do not understand, and there's a reason for that. And I do not understand why his draft stock is falling through the floor whatsoever. You're talking small hand measurables? This guy's a beast on the field. I'm saying he's like DJ Moore, but for me, when you're watching his film, if you had no nameplates, you would think this guy's running like Antonio Brown out there. I'm not saying they're the same player, just how they run, how they, the fluidity and how they catch the passes, how they extend their arms. Luther Burden is a very talented wide receiver, and this guy's going to likely fall into the second round for God knows whatever reason. If there's some off-field stuff I did not find, I don't get it. This is one of the most peculiar draft falls I have ever seen, and somebody's going to get them a true star in the NFL in that second round with Luther Burden.
I got an opinion to offer with that one. And I think it's a pretty strong opinion to offer. If you look at his production, or if we had a way to go into a crystal ball and just flip it, so you say his 2024 was his 2023, and his 2023 was his 2024, Luther's probably the top wide receiver in this draft.
100%.
But because it went the other way around, there's this conception that what happened? Why did you? I think it's a good question. He almost dipped by 30 plus catches and 400 yards and half the touchdowns. Like the production was quite a drop for someone that wasn't necessarily injured, and there wasn't this huge change in the offense. And you're like, well, what, like, why? And I haven't been able to find a consistent answer to why the production for him necessarily fell off. So that's what I think his draft stock is kind of taking a dip, is that it wasn't the same, and it actually decreased this year. But the production that he did have, like if you watch the tape, if you watch the actual catches, the separation, the plays, they're the same that he did before. It's just not as many attempts, not as many yards, not as many touchdowns. So that's where it's a weird head scratcher. And I see what you're saying, that DJ Moore comp. I also see like a poor man's Jamar Chase comp, where when he has the ball, like he's a hard man to tackle.
100%.
This man is a beast with the ball in his hands, and it's not just because of speed. It's all of that, all the speed, strength, body contact, all the above, vision, everything. I'm big on Luther, but I did have to drop him down, and it's because I went back, watched the tape again, went back, watched the production again, and Emeka was just too consistent for me to knock, and I love consistency. Larry Fitzgerald taught me something about consistency, and I cannot knock consistency. That's what Emeka Egbuka was. It's not about Luther. It's that when I compare the two, one was more consistent than the other, regardless of the quarterback situation, and I just had to roll with that.
And there's a reason why that I have Emeka down below Luther, even though I had him higher before. And it's because I do believe that there is a ceiling cap as well. I do, like you were talking about the running back cap, I see it with Matthew Golden cap, or Tet cap to Matthew Golden. Stumbling all over myself. But, I mean, you're talking Emeka for me. He's got that Amon-Ra St. Brown in his game 110%. You want a first down. You want production. You want receptions. You want over the middle. He's going to get it done. And I love me some Emeka, but with Luther, I think their ceiling is a little bit higher to be that guy, where Emeka's going to be likely the slot guy in the pros basically his entire career, where Luther could be a little bit more versatile. You can play him inside, outside, and I think there is a little bit more ceiling to a Luther, but I still love me some Emeka. If you got him at 3, I can totally understand that. Or you got him at number 4. No, you have him at number 4. It's just like me, so it's fine. Why was I thinking you had him at number 3? You had T-Mac at number 3, Emeka at number 4. I got Emeka 4. So we're right on the same bandwagon anyway. But I do like Emeka. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. He's going to be like that in the NFL.
It's because I had Luther at 5.
That's right.
That's probably where you got that one switched. But yeah, that's all it was. I got Emeka at 4.
So we're on the same page with the Mecca, where it goes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got Eric's list of Higgins at 6, Kyle Williams at 7, Jalen Noel at number 8, Jacory Brooks, at number 9, and then Torrey Horton at number 10. Love me some Horton as well. Where my number 6, I got Isaiah Bond. We got Higgins at number 7, Trey Harris at number 8, Kyle Williams at number 9, and then Jalen Noel at number 10. So a lot of similar characters here playing. I'm going to talk a little Bond here, okay? Because I understand the off-field stuff is happening to Bond right now, and it could actually even drop him out of this draft. I will not be surprised if that does happen. Saw he did file a lawsuit against his accuser as well to try to clear his name. So I'm going to stay away from the off-field stuff. I understand all that. Let's just talk about pure skill set. And I love me some Isaiah Bond. You know this. I've been a huge Bond fan, even going back to Alabama. Call him Jalen Waddle 2.0, and I think the skill set definitely does translate just like Jalen Waddle, but we'll see what the off-field stuff does. That's why I got him at number 6.
I like Bond. I don't see him quite that high. I don't see him as a Waddle in terms of his route running ability, consistently enough at least. I do think coming into the year, I would have seen him as someone that had that trajectory. I just didn't see him translated enough this year. And then, like I said, I thought Matthew Golden overtook him just on pure production alone. It was not the ideal system for what they were thinking was going to happen or the ideal situation. I think he just kind of naturally progressed to that. And for that reason, I kind of knocked him down. And then I just actually really like some of these other guys' skill sets in their offenses a little bit more without another alpha next to them per se. So that's just kind of where I got Bond kind of knocked down the list a bit. But he was just right on my outside of my top 10.
No, fair enough. And I get it. I mean, he's not necessarily, he's going to be your slot guy. He's going to be your mid-range guy, your seam guy, but he's got wheels for days ability. I love me some Bond. But Jaden Higgins, we both are very big fans. You're 6, I'm 7. This kid, a lot of people talking about T-Mac being a Mike Evans 2.0. I don't see that whatsoever. I see Jaden Higgins being Mike Evans 2.0 with even a better route tree. You see how Higgins, I mean, a big guy like this, he's like, 6'3", 225, and he does off-the-line release like a freaking Tank Dell. I'm not going to go that far, but his release footwork is absolutely phenomenal. He generates separation with his route tree, and he's just a complete mismatch. Back shoulder fade jump balls. Higgins is probably one of the better shots to take in this draft for somebody who could be an unbelievable talent in the NFL.
I'm a big Jaden Higgins fan. I was trying to find a way to move him up.
Yep.
Honest to God, like there was times where I was like, I think he needs to be in my top 5. I really do like his upside. I have a feeling that if there's somebody in this draft that is not considered the number 1 receiver, that all of a sudden you look back 5 years from now and you're like, oh, that's the number 1 receiver in this draft. I think Jaden Higgins could be that guy that's not consistently ranked in that top 5 or even the top 3 or anything like that. And he actually might pop to be that guy. So my upside on him is huge. I think he's a fantastic player, consistent the last couple of years as well. And like you said, his release package, him off the line, his quick feet for his size, and then I think he's listed at 6'4" actually.
6'4".
So I love his size. Uh, I like everything that he brings to the table without without that elite quarterback or without that elite offense around him. I think he's just a fantastic player. I think he's going to translate very well at the next level.
Agreed. He's gonna be one of these guys that I think you put him with somebody like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. I mean, this is ridiculous what you could actually see with this man. I mean, Does he sneak into the first round? No, he's likely a day 2 product. I could see second round, but Higgins is definitely one of these guys. One guy rising up boards, especially for you and I, is Kyle Williams. I got him at 9. You got him at number 7. I know you flirted with the potential of him being in your top 5 for a little while, but I mean, he's unbelievable, man. I love me some Kyle Williams as well.
Kyle's like that true X. He's that Terry McLaurin type player to me. He doesn't have that big body frame, but he has a ridiculous release package. He can line up. I saw him what he did at the Senior Bowl. That's where he really impressed me as well. A lot of his production was late. He did have that 1 year with Cam Ward that was decent at Washington State. They were decent together, and then he had this past year where he really exploded. And for that reason, that's why I had to go back and kind of really review it. And do I want to go all out on a 1 year production from a senior? There is some red flags with those type of things for me. But what I saw this year, if you just went off 1 year of tape, man, he's a top 5 wide receiver in this class. Just off 1 year of tape. If I didn't have to include the past seasons, and I do have to include it, it's all part of his projection and his trajectory there. But this one year was fantastic. He put something together this year that I really enjoyed watching. And his release package, like I said, I think it's the best in the class. And like I said, if I had to comp him to someone, it's more of that Terry McLaurin style. He's a true X receiver, but he's not that true X body type per se. He's a little undersized, but he plays bigger than he is, and he can do a little bit of everything, man. He can beat you downfield, he can beat you short, he can beat you in the intermediate. I love his entire game as a wide receiver.
And Terry's where I got him too. Terry is maybe even a faster Terry. His speed and his breakaway ability. I mean, you can't pay enough for that type of stuff. The yak ability is ridiculous. The first step burst off the line is just silly. And he's versatile, so you can put him anywhere. He can make a house call on a slant, and you're going to be laughing, all day long. I love me some Kyle Williams. Definitely a high riser for me. One guy you don't got on your list that I do is a Trey Harris Ole Miss product. Yeah. He's higher on a lot of people's lists, and he's lower on mine, but 6'3", 210, 4.54 wheels, and I think he's an X as well. He kind of reminds me of he's going to be that alpha guy, Cortland Sutton type of wide receiver, but I do see some even, similarities to some Nico as well, maybe a little bit slower than Nico, but you see a lot of these things that you're looking for out of a wide receiver that you want as your true number one who can handle that role, and a lot of people had, the scoffing of Cortland Sutton, and I think it's kind of the similar type of thing for Trey, where Jackson Dart, where he needed a play to happen, he would look in his direction. Very much a possessional wide receiver, huge catch radius, and he just finds ways to get open. I think that for me, I might be a little too low on a Trey Harris where a lot of people are higher than him, but I think, putting him anywhere from 6 to 8, I think is very fair, and that's kind of why I had him. I mean, Higgins I like a little bit more for the upside, but Trey, to me, I think is going to be one of these guys. He's a plug-and-play guy. You could put him in probably even year one, midway through, and you're going to start to see some things take notice.
Yeah, I didn't have him there. I did want to go back and see him one more time. I didn't quite get to do that, but for whatever reason, he just didn't pop like the other guys to me. He's going to be one of those guys that I might regret, though. I'm going to have to keep an eye on his career and how that goes.
Yeah, he's not the flash in the pan, speedy guy. That's kind of why you want to see all those things, but he's a good one for me as well. And then Jalen Knoll, number 10, you got him at number 8. I know you're a big fan. I am as well. This guy's going to be the seam killer. You're talking people saying, this is going to be the next Ladd McConkey out of this draft, and it's not far off. I mean, the one thing that impressed me the most, because, you can have very speedy slot guys in the pros, where Jalen Knoll definitely separates that, just being that, prototypical slot guy. The speed in the seam routes and the ability in the contested catches and the hops that this guy has. He's a little bit different than your, quote-unquote slot dude. This guy's going to make a lot of plays for an offense just simply due in part to what he does so well. And the fact that he's such a good contested catch player, I'm all on board with Jalen Knoll. I really wanted to rise him up my board, and I just couldn't. He landed at number 10 for me.
Yeah, I'm big on Jalen Noel. The first time I saw his tape, he just popped for me. I was big on him then. Some other guys just happen to just have a little bit more to offer in terms of playing multiple positions from the X to the Z. But with Noel, I think he's strictly a slot, or that's at least where he'll exceed the most. I do like the Ladd McConkey comp. What I would also add with that is an Amon Ra type comp, not quite as polished as a route runner, I would say, as Amon Ra, but the way he attacks the ball, I just love it. I love his hands, strong hands. The man knows how to attack the ball. If it's a 50-50 ball, he's going to at least get it, or it's going to be an incomplete pass. He's not going to let the defender, break in front of him or out wrestle him for a pass. He plays bigger than his body frame, and then like we said, that speed is real. He knows how to play game speed. He knows how to switch up his tape speed there. He knows how to control that in the zones and gear up and gear down. I just think he's a very, very talented football player. He just looks like one of those rugged, talented football players that can add a very big role to an offense right away as his rookie season. Because we know what that slot position can be. We saw it with what Tom Brady was able to do for years, and that's no slight. That's no hyper. What's the word? Hyperbole.
Hyperbole. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say something that's too crazy with that. I'm just saying like he actually can bring something right out of his rookie season from what I saw into an offense that uses that slot receiver as a, third down weapon and as a mismatch weapon. I think that is exactly what he would bring right off the gate for you.
Yeah, hyperbole. There's the word.
Hyperbole.
There's the word we're looking for. But no, I'm with you. I think having that mismatch in the seam with wheels is so important. I mean, you're talking big boy throws, 15 to 20 yards down the field. in between the safeties. And I trust Jalen Noel 100% to make that catch if it's put in the right situation. He's a big one for me. But you got Brooks at 9 and Horton at 10. Why Brooks at 9? Give me the lowdown on what you see in this man.
Now, I know I'm taking a shot here. I know not a lot of people are high on Ja'Cory. I think he had the catch of the year. I told you to stay tuned, take a look at his tape, see if you can find that one. Ridiculous catch from Tyler Shuck. A lot of people are high on Tyler Shuck, just to plug him right now. I've heard Louis Riddick and other analysts, big time respected analysts, say he's one of those sleeper quarterbacks. I think a lot of Tyler Shuck's production was because of Ja'Cory Brooks. I think he was his number one receiver this year. Fantastic bailout guy for him. Fantastic 50-50 catcher. I went back and really dove into his tape. He was also pretty good at Alabama, not the same amount of opportunity and whatever, but I do think in the opportunity he had, he did flash, transfers over to Louisville there, and I thought he absolutely bombed. He produced excellent for them as their number one receiver. I liked his tape. It was a lot of flash there. Now he does have some concentration drops. He does have some issues in consistency, but the high ceiling there is there for me. I do see, some upside. I think he'll be a great, like a third round pick for somebody that's looking for a guy that needs to develop a bit, but could actually develop into your number one receiver.
Yeah, I think where I see him is that he could be that good, complementary guy. Wide receiver 2 on a team with a good alpha wide receiver, and I think he could do a lot of damage in that sense as well. But Horton is my dude as well. Love me some Tory Horton, man. With this guy, you go watch the tape when he played Colorado, and man, I swear to God, it was like 18 receptions this guy had. Every single time they were throwing the football, it was like, bam, Horton, bam, Horton. This guy's so good. If it wasn't for the injuries, he would definitely be flying up boards as well. And I think this guy, depending, it's going to be round 3, round 4 for him, I want to say, I think he is one of the steals of this draft at the wide receiver position just because of what he brings to the table. Such good hands, such reliable hands, and his ability he's not, the super speedy type of guy, but he just makes every catch to come his way, and I think he's going to be so reliable in the pros.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think he has a name too that just sounds like a professional athlete, Tory Horton. It just sounds like you've heard it, baseball. I don't know, maybe that's where you got it from, but he just sounds like he's destined to be a professional athlete. And then in terms of the injury, like you were saying, he's actually bounced back exceptionally. He tested well, considering he just got cleared for that, and he decided to run the 40. I know how you feel about these guys running and testing. He manned up. He said, "I'll run it regardless of my injury," and he actually ran a pretty good time. I think it was in the 4.4s. So that's incredible, considering a guy just came back from a pretty severe injury. He just knows how to get open. He's not necessarily a blazer. He's not necessarily a highlight reel in terms of catching the ball and making 5 guys miss and house calling it, but he's a guy that's super consistent. He knows how to sit down in zones. He knows how to beat man good enough to get enough to give you a catch radius to find him. He doesn't necessarily separate with a massive room there, but he does enough to give you a catch radius, and he's a big body frame receiver. I think he's definitely an NFL pro in that sense. And I have him on my list as number 10, and I actually paired him with Alec Ayomino. I think that guy is just on par with Tory in sense of talent. Different games, but I do love Alec. I think his pass blocking is exceptional for his size. I think that he'll bring like a day one type starter on that alpha receiver that can bring the run blocking, pass blocking, and then as well as his route running. He's a lot faster than he looks at his size too. So he's one of those guys that I'm also high on. Little concentration drops is why he's not in that top upper echelon for me. But what he did to Colorado is equally as impressive, if not more impressive, to what Tory did, right? He beat the living shit out of our boy, Travis Hunter. And that's not even me just exaggerating. Go watch the tape. In one half of football, he put up over like 280 yards on him and 3 touchdowns. It wasn't all on our guy, Travis, but about half of it was. So if you do that, you're going to catch my eye.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of good things to like about Ayo, and I mean, he's there for me. I just wanted to see more. I think that's my biggest problem. I just want to see a little bit more out of his game. I think there is quality. Like I said, to preface all of this, when we started the draft process, I said, this draft is loaded with a lot of secondary wide receivers, and I think that is pretty much the case. There's going to be a lot of quality, wide receiver 2, 3s in this draft that are going to be big-time producers in the pros. But to finish it off with tight ends, I mean, top 5 for us. I mean, the tight end class is very interesting. I don't know how I feel about it, as a great class. I think it's a very good class, and I think there's going to be a lot of good potential here. So number one, Tyler Warren for both of us, Colston Loveland for both of us as well. I got Mason Taylor at 3. You got Fannin Jr. at 3. Mason Taylor at 4 for you. I got Fannin at 4, and then number 5, I got Gunnar Helm, and you got Arroyo from Miami. It's a very good list, man. I mean, Tyler Warren, generational tight end.
He is. I'm not as high as others are. Some people are comparing him to Gronk. I don't quite see that type of um, domination, manhandling of the opponent to that degree. But I do see a very interchangeable tight end, somebody you can plug and play anywhere in the lineup, somebody that's extremely versatile. He doesn't beat you with just athleticism. He beats you with smarts, football understanding, depth. He understands his routes. He understands exactly how to run them and get that separation. He's a pro's pro. He's a football player. He's a tough guy. He's hard not to like. I don't think there's any team in the league that wouldn't be happy having Tyler Warren. It just depends on where you could get him. But every team would love having that type of football player. You can always have a guy like that and find a role for him.
He's going to be super productive in the NFL. He is that good. Gronk, okay, I think that's a little bit of a stretch, but like I said, it's like if the Steelers would ever utilize somebody like a Pat Freiermuth, you would see how good Pat Freiermuth really is. Penn State just knows how to generate tight ends, and Warren's definitely going to be one of these guys as well. Colston Loveland, Michigan product, and I mean, we're both big fans of this guy. Super uber wide receiver type friendly tight end. Got the size, got the frame, got the ability. And I mean, injuries definitely pulled him back throughout this draft process, but he's definitely in the conversation of being a first round commodity. I'd be shocked personally if we see 2 tight ends go in the first round just with the depth at the edge. But I mean, Loveland definitely is one of these guys that can, challenge somebody like a Tyler Warren for being best in the class.
Oh, his receiving talent is up there. I comp him to like a TJ Hawkinson. That's kind of what I see from him in terms of his receiving ability, that length and that long body frame. Playing in big games, you can't knock that. He's made some of the biggest catches there in tight moments. And he played for Harbaugh, so he knows, he understands the NFL. He understands what he's getting into. He looks like a pro's pro. As an Eagles fan, I know we're kind of on the radar for a tight end, so I wouldn't mind having Loveland fall to us and us having him snatch up and replace Goddard moving forward. So I'm big on Loveland. I think he's easily the tight end 2 in this draft.
Yeah, I think I mocked him in my 2.0 to the Eagles at the last pick. So, I mean, it is what it is. But let's talk Mason Taylor. I got him 3, you got him 4. And it's the epitome of fluidity at the tight end spot. I mean, this guy, family ties, like you guys know. I mean, NFL family ties. But this guy, okay, yes, I understand. You want to see a little bit more out of the top-end stats and the top-end gameplay. But just, I mean, the testing, okay, I get it. He's running in shorts. Who gives a crap? I care because it shows without pads how fluid these players are, and it's definitely important. And then you go back to their film study and you say, does it translate on the field the way they test, like in the gauntlet drill? This guy's running on the line like a freaking wide receiver and then bursts out of his the break like nothing. And you watch it on film and you're like, yeah, this thing translates for Mason Taylor like nothing. I think he's underrated for what he is, and I think he's going to be a fantastic tight end for a team that can utilize him properly.
Yeah, I'm a big Mason fan. I think he's a no-brainer here. What Mason for me is similar to like an Marion Hampton, not quite the upper talent for that position, but in terms of the safest pick in that bracket, he's not going to fail you. I think any team that gets Mason is going to get extreme consistency. To me, he tested well. What he did on that gauntlet, I don't even think I've seen you said wide receivers. Like, I don't even think I've seen wide receivers run that straight. I've never seen a line that straight. What he was able to do down that line, catch every pass and just nail it down the line. Like, his fluidity is ridiculous. And then he's got the genes we were just talking about the other day. His dad is Jason. His uncle is Zach. Like, it's in his genes. It's genetically, he's been enhanced through nature to be a football player.
Yeah.
Right. So Mason, I think he's going to be fantastic for whoever gets him. He is one of the lightest 255s I've ever seen. Like 255, and then he just moves like he's 220. It's kind of crazy to see. But yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of his, and wherever he lands, I think he's a pro's pro. He's gonna definitely translate. I don't think he's gonna be like a Trey McBride or someone that ever catches 90 passes or
Sure.
something like that. But he's definitely gonna be one of your consistent tight ends, maybe on the lower end of a George Kittle, depending on what offense he's in.
And if he does, I mean, we know the tight end takes some time to grow in the pros. Usually it's like a 2 to 3 year window based on how good you are elite wise to, exceptional ability. And I think the 3 year window, we will get a very good tell of what a Mason Taylor is going to be in the NFL, but I'm a big fan, and I think he's going to be very successful. I mean, Harold Fannin Jr., I mean, you got him one up. I got him one down. Crazy athletic tight end, speed, hops, change of direction, tracks the ball like a wide receiver. Like you said, very physical type of specimen. I like his game, and I don't fault you for putting him at number 3 because these guys are very much, I want to say even interchangeable. There's arguments to be had. You could put him at number 2 and be completely satisfied.
And if he did this in the highest rankings in the SEC, I'd put him at number 1.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just where he played. It's the competition he played. But even the games that he had against some of the top competition he still showed he had 100 yards in those games. He showed me something that I was like, who is this guy? Like I had to really
Yeah.
double back and be like, what are you doing out here? And even his tape the year previous, even those stats were more along the lines of typical tight end stats. So even his 2023 stats are like, oh, pretty good stats. That's a pretty good tight end season, like 700 yards, 7 touchdowns, something along those lines. And then this season, he put up like wide receiver 1 stats where you're like, what kind of is this?
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. So you have to go watch the tape and be like, okay, was it just force feeding him? Was the competition all whack? Like, what is this, right? And you see it against top competition, he's getting open. Against weak competition, he's getting open. Against weak competition, he is sunning them. He's gronking guys. He's actually looking like you're on a field with guys that have no business being on the same field with you. And for that reason, I just had to give him an extra bump. I just felt like some of this is going to translate, man. There's some guys in the NFL that are talented, but they're just not big enough or strong enough that he's going to be able to, for lack of a better word, like he's going to be able to sun them. I seen him sun all kinds of guys in college, jump over them, run around them, stiff arm them. Like his tape, if you just want to watch a highlight tape and have a good time, go watch this guy's highlight tape. He's special. His athleticism is crazy.
Facts,
I
man.
saw Isaiah Likely with more juice.
Okay, yeah, and where I'm going is I think he's going to be everything we wanted David Njoku to be.
Ooh, okay. Okay, I like it.
You know
I
what I'm
like
saying?
that too.
I think that's kind of where it fits. I think
I like that.
everybody was all about David Njoku being this guy, and it just injuries derailed him. We finally saw some sprinkles of it last year with Njoku and year before. I think it's going to be this. Hopefully it works, but I think
Consistent.
the consistency in Fannin Jr. I think is definitely there, and he has a very high potential to be somebody. And Likely's a great one as well. I think Likely's a very Njoku type of tight end anyway, and I think that Fannin could be that type of guy. No question.
Or even I've heard this one. I didn't know necessarily jump on it, and then I went back and thought about it. It's an Antonio Gates, just smaller,
Sure.
just coming from like those type of schools, late bloomers. They weren't highly, scouted at that point, and then Antonio Gates went on to be what we saw. This guy's athleticism, man, I'm telling you, it translates. It's crazy.
It is crazy. He's extremely athletic when you watch this guy hurdling guys as a tight end. You're like, okay, I understand. I'm turning the tape off now. It's done. But I mean, for me, Gunnar Helm at number 5, and I mean, I think 5 down to even 15, you can definitely make a lot of case. So a lot of hatred for Helm coming is from the combine. He hurt his hamstring or his ankle, sorry, and he couldn't. He still tested. So when you sit here and you talk about me saying I want to see these guys test, this guy's got heart for days. Big body wide receiver. What, he's 6'6". And it's like like the Dawson Knox type of tight end where he's very physical. He's gonna catch passes sure-handed. You want to play made. I mean, okay, huge body type and the massive mismatch in the hands that he does possess. Gunnar Helm for me is one of those dudes, but I know you got yourself a little Arayo from Miami at number 5. I know you're huge on him because you were watching Cam's tape and you're like, this guy's good stuff too, and I need him on my team.
Hey, Arayo, I just like how he's kind of that flexible tight end. You can move him outside, you can have him inside. He's probably the fastest tight end in this draft. I don't know if they've been proven if he actually did the pro day or what his 40 was, but I believe he's probably the fastest tight end just based on game speed. And I'm a sucker for speed here, and I just like what I saw. I like that one year where you had Cam. I like how he was used in the red zone. I like how his routes are. He's pretty fluid with his breaks. He can get in and out of his breaks pretty good for a man his size. I think, once he gets his inline blocking on track, he's going to translate very well. Uh, I think there's a lot of upside to Arroyo. Like he's got that type of ability that you can look back years from now and he's the top 2 or top 3 tight end in this league, or sorry, in this draft class. So I'm big on that type of skill set and what that can translate to the NFL. It's a passing league, even more so. They've kind of like someone like this is probably not the best guy to bring up right now, but someone like Kyle Pitts has somewhat survived in the NFL, and he still hasn't turned out to be a great passing tight end. Someone like your Buffalo boy Dalton Knox, not the best blocking tight end. Now, if Arroyo can get in the set like that, where he can get mixed matched with a Dawson Knox, who's actually a true blocking tight end, so he can just develop and eventually get to that role, I can see him being someone like that. More in that Kincaid role for now, and then he has to develop that blocking.
Yeah, I think the Kincaid comp is very good. You're going to play him, big slot type tight end, have the ability to make pass catches and make some big plays down the field. Definitely warranting of all of that good situation. But, I mean, there you have it. That is the rankings. It is a long show, but it is very digestible because the NFL draft is coming. We're so pumped, so excited. I can't. 1 week away. Can you believe how freaking fast time is flying, dude?
Man, time flies. I can't wait. Next week's going to be amazing. Friday, Saturday, can't wait for the draft. Can't wait to see, how these teams move. There's going to be some trades. We don't know who's going to get moved, but we know somebody will. So I can't wait to have that notification, and then we get to laughing and talking about it.
Yeah, man. Up and down the board, your Eagles, my Bills, and then everything in between, all these players we scouted. I mean, I'm going to keep going with these scouting reports as the year does go on. So, I mean, never do not stay tuned for that double negative, but it is
I got a late comp for you that I just thought of too.
Yeah.
We were talking about my boy, the Canadian guy, that Eric Ayomino.
Oh,
How you say his last name? Ayomino, something like
that?
that?
Io Maynor.
Ayomainer, yes, Eric Ayomainer. You know who he reminds me of that you're gonna be like, really? Gabe Davis. That's
Ooh.
my
Yeah,
comp
I
for
can
him.
see it.
Especially in the
Absolutely.
pass blocking and then a little bit of that speed. He's got more speed. He had some juice at that
Yeah.
combine too.
No,
And I
I can
like
see
him
it.
off the line. If you watch his tape, pay attention. I like his feet off the line. He's got really quick feet early.
Yeah, I can see it. And, his jump ball ability and his back shoulder is definitely there as well. I could definitely see a Gabe Davis in this man.
Yeah. And he drops like Gabe too. Not to
Yeah.
not to bring up
Poor
their
Gabe.
negatives, but I'm telling you,
Leave
their
Gabe
negatives are
alone.
the same, man.
He was my alpha. Leave Gabe alone. Damn it.
I'm just being honest, man.
Frick, man.
The drops are similar, but hey, if that's my comp, you might see some similarities at the next level.
No, I can definitely see it. It definitely does translate that way as well. But I mean, long show. I'm tired. I'm thirsty. I need a beverage as well. But thanks for everybody for joining. Eric, as always, a pleasure. Chopping up some rookies, chopping up some film right before the NFL draft. Truly appreciate it.
Awesome. Take care.
So we'll just get out of here anyway. Nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give us your thoughts. What do you think of the ranks? You in on some of these guys? Rank them how you see it, man. Drop it in the comments. We could definitely have a conversation about it. Cut me up, I'll cut you back. But we'll see you next time. I am out.